Hi, it's Treflyn Jones. I hope you're having a good day. This is our spotlight meeting, and this month we've got Daxa Jobanputra, who's joining us. I've known Daxa for, I wouldn't say a short while, I wouldn't say a long while, since about 18 months ago. And she's been very, very helpful. She's a font of knowledge, and her journey into our world, if I can call it that, is very different from other people's journeys. So I just want to welcome you, Daxa, this afternoon for us over here in the UK. And I want to welcome everybody who's taken the time to join us. So how are you doing?
I'm doing well. First, I'd like to say thank you so much for this opportunity. It's really kind of you to give me the stage for a short while.
Okay. When we first met, I didn't know anything about running support group meetings, and you actually came up and just offered to help me, and that was absolutely amazing. But if you just want to share with people, you know, what your journey is and how you find yourself doing what you're now doing, please.
I became very sick about 6 years ago. I had it's personal, but I'm happy to share. I had a hysterectomy, so I went into menopause, and that must have triggered a trauma response, I assume, in my body. And 6 months after that, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition called HASHIMOTO'S. So in a nutshell, my hormones were all really messed up. I was like losing my hair. I had the worst brain fog. I don't know if you've heard of what brain fog is, where you just can't think. Anything, like, you know, if I did something really exciting at the weekend, I would have forgotten that I did that. It was really scary. I used to fall asleep at the wheel. I could be having a conversation like this and really struggle to stay awake. It was, and my joints hurt. The inside of my mouth was peeling, or even other skin areas. It was just really frightening. And I thought, I was just sort of mid-40s then. So I was thinking, oh my God, this is just going to be awful as I get older. You know, I'm going to be so dependent on my family, and I just didn't want that. So I was fortunate enough to be able to see a functional medical practitioner who told me that diet and lifestyle were really crucial, and that I really needed to change those things. So I spoke about my diet, and it turned out that what I actually thought was a healthy diet wasn't healthy at all. And my thinking behind why I thought my diet was healthy is because I was following the Eat Well guide. I never struggled with weight. So I felt like I was very fortunate to be able to eat what I wanted. But within that, I mean, you know, I was aware that if I stuffed my face full of cakes and treats like that, then I would put on weight. But within the realm of what the government would call real food, I was okay. So I had a re-education. I learned that carbs were not good for me. That was probably that my body just didn't like them, and that I wasn't processing them well. My body wasn't using the energy from them. The things that led to this revelation was the fact that I was eating my breakfast and hungry 2 hours later, and having a snack, hungry again, eating a meal, hungry again, having a snack, eating a meal, hungry again. And I was eating 6-7 times a day. And because I wasn't putting on weight, I didn't think there was anything wrong with that. And that is really scary, because internally it was a mess. Internally, my hormones were going crazy. And it was only when I went into menopause that I really realized how bad the situation internally was for me. I feel that if I'd carried on eating that way, hadn't had my hysterectomy, then I would have probably been a type 2 diabetic. Asians are very prone to it because of the way we eat. Our food is generally very carby. So yeah, but I also realized that it wasn't just down to food. Food plays a massive factor, but lifestyle is really important, you know, managing your stress, because I was very stressed at the time, managing your sleep. I wasn't sleeping because I had the hot flushes all the time. They were waking me up. And just exercise is important, but not too much exercise, because again, that can stress your body out. So I just thought today I would like to speak more about stress, because I feel like that's something that gets forgotten. We all focus so much on diets and everything. And so, yeah, I think over the years, I've realized that food is absolutely really important, but other things are as important for some people more than others.
Okay, I mean, when you were talking then about saying that you're going to focus on stress, we're not taking anything away, as you quite rightly said then at the end, from the importance of food and eating the right foods and eating the food groups, the right kind of food groups. But we're not going to go into that here now. No. And I, you know, it's so interesting what you talk about stress, because some people don't understand what stress is. And I've heard of, you know, well, so-and-so's off work with stress, and I just think, get over it, get back to work, you skiver. You know, and that was my understanding of it, because what's the big deal? What's the problem? But there's a lot more to it than that, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. I mean, there are two main categories that come under, that stress comes under. You've got the psychological stress, which is like you said, the example you said, you know, you can't get to work because you're stressed, kind of thing. But like losing a job can cause severe stress to an individual. You know, even having a fight, you know, with your partner or your family, another family member, or any of those, you know, we replay those things in our heads, and it causes stress. One of the key ones that a lot of people, obviously not so much now because we're in lockdown, but when the traffic was at its worst, for example, sitting in traffic would cause people stress. So they're the psychological stresses. But the stresses that are really forgotten are the physiological challenges. So insomnia, that's stressing your body out because it's not getting the right sleep quality, and therefore your body is not repairing correctly. Chronic infections, you know, people who have those, their bodies can be stressed out. Inflammation, and that really, again, goes back to your diet. So if you're eating lots of carby, sugary foods, you're going to raise your inflammation. That stresses you out. People like me who have got autoimmune diseases are more prone to stress because their hormones aren't working the way they should. They're not in balance. Environmental toxins, you've got the pollutants. You've got the things that you use around your house. And I'm not saying this affects everybody, but some people are more sensitive than others. Also, it depends on how well your liver is detoxing things. There's so many metabolic pathways that can go wrong. It can go down to genetics, epigenetics. It's really deep. And then there's people who are stressed because they're dieting. So although we say, you know, maybe, you know, and I know you advocate for one meal a day, and that suits you, which is great, and it works for you. But I always think people should gradually move into something like that, because then they would know if it's going to stress them out. You know, don't just jump into it and do loads of that suddenly. Because for you that works, for me it may not work because of my autoimmune condition. And then there's people who can obsess about exercising. And again, exercise is great. Don't get me wrong. Everyone should exercise, but don't overdo that either. You know, listen to your body, I suppose, is the main takeaway from that, you know. I
mean, I never was, I never was big on exercise. Right, guys, listen, while we're doing this dieting and we're sort of eating these low carbohydrate foods, we've got to do some exercise as well. So I've come out today just to do a bit of exercise. Whoa, I'm worn out. Anyway, be encouraged. You know, do a bit of exercise and look after your food intake. Keep those carbohydrates down. Cheers. That's because I was no good at it at school. I was no good at running. I was no good at. I could never climb up the ropes in the gym, and I always felt a failure. So when we went into the gym, I just did as little as I could. The only time I was any good at anything in terms of exercise was in karate. And that sort of de-stressed me amazingly, you know, and I was really, really good at that. Not that I want to go out there and apply it to anybody, but I take the point that you're saying, if you don't like it, don't do it. That's my answer to it, you know.
Yeah, but don't be a couch potato either. You know, move around, go for nice leisurely walks, you know, pick up the pace occasionally. Be active. There's a difference between exercising and activity levels, if you know what I mean. Be active. And you strike me as an active person anyway, from what I've heard about your past and all the things you've dabbled in. And, you know, you're not one to sit down and feel sorry for yourself, shall we say, or just sit and watch TV, you know.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, in an ideal world, we just do what we want to do. And that's the way it is. And I've got to the age now where I don't have to go to work, but I don't have to do this either. But it's my choice to do this. And yeah, I mean, today I've made one video and I've already had a Zoom meeting with somebody else. And I've got a Zoom meeting tonight. Am I stressed? No, not really. Don't care. I'll just do it. It's just another breath. But if we dwell on these things and you write them and you think, oh my God, I've got all this to do, I just don't care. I used to say, you know, who cares? And when I was overweight, everything that I wore was big, black and baggy. And I looked as if I got dressed with a shovel and I didn't care. I did deep down inside. Yeah, I did deep down inside, but I never let that show. But I take Daxa's points. She makes some very, very good points there. Sorry, Daxa, please carry on.
No, I was just going to say, and I think because your weight journey, weight loss, weight shedding journey, however you want to say it, has been tremendous. But I feel like that's because of all the work you've done with your diet and obviously not eating gluttonously, etc. But I feel that your predisposition, the fact that you don't get stressed, you come across as very calm, take it in your stride kind of person, must have really helped that journey.
Yes, I suppose it did. I mean, at the end of the day, all things bother you deep down inside. And you can feel unhappy. Every time I got and dressed in front of the mirror, I felt unhappy and I wanted to blame somebody else for it, but that was my fault. But the only way to change that is to make a change, make a difference, do something different. Yeah. And you can't say, well, I'm not going to eat bananas anymore. I'm going to eat apples instead. Yeah, that's doing something different, but it's the same poison. And, you know, it's the same thing in essence that you're doing. So I had to learn. And my journey led me to meeting you, Daxa. And that's how, you know, again, your journey has taken you to where you are now. You're an ambassador for the public health collaboration, and you encouraged me to become an ambassador as well. And you have a different level of understanding that a lot of people do who might have joined the Keep Fat Club or any other weight loss page on Facebook looking for that golden answer. But the golden answer, it's in your hands and it's in your mouth. You just got to learn what's good for you and what isn't good for you, you know. And as I say, Daxa had a different reason for doing what she did to the reason that I had for doing what I did, you know. But there you go. That's our journeys.
Yeah, like you said, food is definitely the first step, but the stress is all to do with the hormone cortisol. Which is a very important hormone, and we don't want to suppress it, in its natural rhythm, because what happens is cortisol increases in the morning, which gives us the energy to wake up, etc., and then it tapers down through the day, so that by the end of the day, it's dropped down enough so that we can have a nice restful sleep. But the stress reaction causes that whole natural cycle to disrupt, and then that's when the cortisol is causing problems within our body. And that is literally related to stress. Because if we were hunter-gatherers, for example, and we got stressed, it would be to either fight or flee kind of thing, And so it was a very useful requirement that, for us to survive. But now we have this chronic, prolonged stress, which we haven't adapted to, we haven't evolved to deal with. Basically, let me just sort of say that the broken cortisol rhythm can lead to the blood glucose rising. It makes it harder for the glucose to enter our cells, makes us hungry and crave sugar. And so it's very difficult if you're stressed to work with your willpower, because that craving is going to, your willpower is not going to be enough, because you're going to crave, your body's just going to crave it. It reduces your ability to burn fat. So, it stops you burning your fat that you maybe have on your body. It suppresses what they call the HPA axis. Which is to do with the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis and causes hormonal imbalances. It does other things. It makes your cells less sensitive to insulin. So if you have got insulin that's working fine, it stops it from working fine. It increases your belly fat. It causes fatty liver disease. It raises your triglycerides, which is in your blood, which is detrimental to our health. So, you'd think one hormone you just can't believe the impact it has on the body, and then all those really massively affect weight loss.
Yeah, I mean, one of the phrases that sort of springs to mind is that when people get depressed or they get down, or they say, I'm fed up, or I've fallen out, comfort eating, that is just, in other words, it's our attempt to make us feel better by doing something that isn't really going to be good for us. Because as you've said, Daxa, the cortisol it's all set around by the adrenal gland, and the adrenal gland makes adrenaline or cortisol. But it doesn't make both at the same time. That's the one thing. But when it produces cortisol, and if you're in stress, there's no real mechanism for turning that cortisol production off. And then that affects your immune system. And so it's not that you get ill because you're stressed. It's because your immune system is absolutely rubbish. It's not working. So all the bacteria that you got floating around in your system, and your immune system was dealing with that before, it was killing it off and keeping you safe. All of a sudden, the immune system isn't working anymore. And you end up then with other additional illnesses. I became stressed due to the death of my sister, and I didn't realize it's affected me, and I ended up with shingles. And my immune system had gone down because my cortisol levels had increased, and that allowed the virus that causes the shingles to come to the fore. And I suffered with that for a couple of months, and so therefore it's only when I saw a video on YouTube which says, if you understand this, you'll know more than most doctors do. And the one thing I can remember about that video saying that the cure for stress was love, and I can remember as a child, if my friends bullied me or somebody upset me, my mum or dad would sit me on the knee and say, it's okay, don't you worry about them, those nasty boys and whatever, just ignore them, and to try and make you feel better and make you feel loved and comfort you. And so therefore, if you know somebody who's dealing with stress, give them a hug, make them feel wanted, make them feel loved. Don't do what I used to do. Get over it. What's the matter with you, Big Doris?
Yeah.
That was wrong of me to even think that. And so we have to say, give them a hug, make them feel that they're loved, make them know that they're appreciated, make them know that you're there for them. And I'm not saying it'll reverse it around in a day or 2 days, but I know that if you do it enough times, then it makes a massive, massive difference. We all want to be loved. We all want to be hugged. And I make sure that I hug my wife every day and tell her that I love her. Times a day. And those are the things that we should be doing, because I'm hiding up here now and she's wondering where I am. And no, she's not. Anyway, sorry about that. I'm going on a bit here.
No, not at all. No, but no, that is true. Human contact, connecting with people, being authentic, being able to share. I think we live in a society where we feel we have to be having fun all the time, and then if you're not having fun, it emphasizes how how little fun you're having when you think on social media everybody's having a ball. Maybe not in these current times, but pre-COVID at least. You know, it all impacts people's perception of what other people are doing and how they're having a hard time, which stresses them out even more. But yeah, no, and just realizing all the things, like you said, that are right there in front of you, the people that you love, hold them, hug them, acknowledge them, tell them that, you know, thank them for things that they've done, and they hopefully will thank you for things you've done. Yeah, but if you're in a situation where, especially in this current situation, a lot of people may not have any family and they might be by themselves, you know, they could try meditation, they could walk, but mindfully, not walking and just walking for the sake of walking with trillions of thoughts running around in their head, but literally taking in the environment. You know, how does the cold air feel on your skin? How does, I don't know, it sound to, you know, walk through some dried leaves, etc. Just really, really appreciate the environment and be present. And then there's like techniques where you can reframe the moment. For example, you know, we mentioned traffic before. You can be stuck in traffic. Well, you can't change that. You're stuck in traffic. So you can be angry and cause all your cortisol levels to go out of, you know, have a party in your body. Or you can just try and find ways to accept the moment and to just enjoy the moment. Maybe, you know, you've got 5 minutes more to listen to a couple of songs, you know, etc. And then there's always daily yoga practice. It doesn't have to be a long practice. It might be just 5 minutes, but, you know, just little things like that. Or, I mean, Dr. Chatterjee, I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Chatterjee.
Can you just spell it for us, please, Daxa?
Yeah, I'll show you his book. We've got this one here called Feel Better in 5. And there's loads and loads of things for health and well-being. You know, one of my favorite things is he sort of recommends people. So it's like he recommends doing 3 things for 5 minutes throughout the day, and you can pick. There's loads of like little ideas he's got. So one of my favorite things is like spending 5 minutes doing a jigsaw puzzle. You know, you can do longer, obviously, because that takes you out of your sympathetic nervous system into your parasympathetic nervous system, which means it's just a calmer place. It takes, because you have to focus so much, it takes you out of all of your worries and your stresses, which just helps rebalance the hormones. But if you really, really are interested in stress, then this book of his is also very good, The Stress Solution. I don't know if you can get everything on that. Yeah. You can see that, yeah. And I think he talks about, well, he wrote a book about the stress solution because when he's seen his patients through the many years he's been a doctor, he's realized that, you know, stress is a massive thing for most people that they need to address for better health and well-being. But like I said, the food thing is still up there, you know, but for people who have tried the food, but again, some people will do the whole diet thing and become so obsessed with it that in itself is stressing them out.
I think the other thing as well, that if the person's overweight, you know, you don't like where you are, you don't like what you look like, and you may be worried about what other people think about you, right? So the first thing to say is, okay, it is what it is, and there's nothing I can do about it. And you know, if you've got somewhere to sleep, if you're warm, you've got clothes, you've got food, you got this. I said to somebody the other day, things couldn't be better. And they said, are you kidding me? I said, no, I'm not. I said, things couldn't be better. Yeah, but we're locked down in COVID. I said, yeah, but I said, I've got food, I've got this, I've got that. I said, things could be different. I said, that's what we're talking about, not better, about being different. I could be in a warmer climate. It could be sunny outside. You know, I could be, well, they would be different, but it wouldn't be better. It's different. And so, you know, we've got to be patient in our journey. So if you're trying to lose weight, it can be frustrating because you've tried this and you don't think it works. And then you get fed up. Oh, I've had enough now. I'm going to have that cream cake. I'm going to cheer myself up here because there's nobody around you that will cheer you up. And then all you're then doing is climbing higher up that mountain. So you've got further to jump. Not a good place to be.
No. But you did a great reframe there. You know.
Say that again. Sorry.
You did a lovely reframe when he said everything's, you know, great in your, everything's great, and you just said, well, if I was abroad, it'd just be different.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, what could be better? You know, I mean, it could be different. You know, we could be in the same room, and I could have, you know, a cup of coffee. Well, my cup is cool.
I saw that.
Yeah, that was clever. Anyway, it didn't go on the laptop, but
that's good.
Things could be different.
Yeah.
But I'm listen, toilet roll. Always have toilet roll to wipe up your spill in your mess. We're not popping out.
It does the job. That's all it needs.
Things would be different. Daxa, you know, you're absolutely fabulous, and I just want to thank you so much. Now, tell us a little bit about your Facebook page, because you have got a Facebook page, haven't you? Tell us.
Yeah. I mean, I've not been very active on it recently, but I have a Facebook page that's called the Magic Pill Forum. I named it after a film called The Magic Pill. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen it? Yeah. Well, I watched that at the beginning of my journey, just after I'd done a dietary reset, and I just couldn't. I was just blown away, and it just made so much sense. And I thought, how did I not know that without it being spelled out for me? As you know, like I think one of the things they talk about is heart healthy. Is it oats or something? And then they're full of maple sugar and all of this. And I'm like, how ignorant was I? I mean, my eyes, I had so much trust. I had too much trust, shall I say, in the government and the dietary guidelines. And now I'm fully aware that they are just general guidelines, and they probably only serve a very small portion of the public. I think the majority of us need to tweak our lifestyle and diets so they actually serve us. You know, for example, like I said, I had to really reduce the amount of carbohydrates I eat. I changed the type of fats I eat, and I was able to probably increase my fats, let's say, compared to somebody who's got weight to lose. So that was fine with me. I didn't understand that, you know, potatoes would be bad, because potatoes are a real food, you know. And like one of the meals I used to have thinking it was healthy was jacket potato with baked beans, and I'd have a nice healthy salad with it. But that jacket potato wasn't a small jacket potato. It was a quite a hefty sized jacket potato.
Half a pound of butter on it.
Yeah, and I'd always put butter on it. And that was probably the thing that I kind of was worried about adding. And actually, it's probably the one thing that, along with the salad, was okay to have. You know, within, you know, because obviously, like I said, I wasn't overweight. But the potato, and when I think about how many teaspoons of sugar a potato is equivalent to, you know, it breaks down in your body too. Because whether it's a carbohydrate from sweets or chocolate, or whether it's carbohydrates from potatoes, bread, rice.
One of the things that we're looking at now is we're looking at David Unwin's infographics. And as we can see there, if you look at rice, we can see how many spoonfuls of sugar there are in there.
Yeah.
So all these different foods have been broken down so that we, into layman's terms, so that we say, if that small amount of rice, and that's probably maybe 3 times as much of that, it's equivalent to eating all those spoonfuls of sugar times that portion size. And David Unwin, he's one of the founders of the Public Health Collaboration, and we're very grateful to him that he's actually had his infographics done. And if you go onto Google and just Google Dr. David Unwin infographics, you can see them on there, and you can download them and print them off and use them to help you. You know, they're not there to destroy you.
It still all breaks down to a single glucose molecule in your body.
Just something else, Daxa, very, very quickly before we wind up. We can go to our doctor for medical advice and for dietary advice, What have you got to say about that?
Sadly, and this breaks my heart, when I got diagnosed with my condition and I said to the doctor, because I specifically asked, is there anything I can do in terms of diet? And they just said, no, take these for the rest of your life. They don't really have that conversation. I suppose maybe because I didn't need to lose weight. I think if you're diabetic, they'll send you to a dietitian, maybe, if it's not, if you're struggling to manage your blood glucose. But even there, you have to, if you go to an NHS practitioner, then generally, and I'm obviously not every practitioner will generally just point you to the Eat Well guide.
Well, tell us about the Eat Well guide, please. Okay, we can see it on here, so we can see that it's
for most people, that eating that many grams of carbohydrate is just way too much. They're not specific about what fats are healthy. On my journey, I realized that sunflower oil, for example, is inflammatory because it's so heavily processed. So it's just causing oxidative stress, etc. in the body. We had margarine on the scene for so many years. Trans fat, they're so dangerous. There's so many ways we can tweak our diet. I'd say the fats and the carbohydrates are the key to establishing good health. So eat the right natural fats, not heavily processed fats. If you have a lot of weight to shed, then keep your fat to a minimum, for sure, because there's obviously all of that on your body needs to get used up. Yeah. And if you're providing your body with the energy from your food, it's going to obviously use that. It's simpler, it's easier.
I think that's one of the misunderstandings when people see the ketogenic diet and they see that circle broken up into the different macronutrients, and then they say 70% fat, and then that's all what they call about calories. And it's just, it wasn't designed as a weight loss plan, and somebody's taken it and people follow it, and to some level of, there's some level of success, but people struggle trying to measure the macros. Well, at the end of the day, you can't eat a calorie. It doesn't exist. It's a result of a laboratory experiment. I made a video about that, and you can access that video. It's called Can You Eat a Calorie? If you go to the Warrington Low Carbohydrate group on Facebook. But, so there's a lot of information out there. And if it's not evidence or experience-based, be very, very careful who you're listening to. That's why I've asked Daxa to come along this afternoon, because this is evidence-based. She's talking about things that happened to her, so it's her experience that we're listening to. She hasn't taken it from a book. She hasn't invented it. It's something that she did, that Daxa did, to help her own situation and to reverse her health. And I'm just so grateful that she's done it for her own sake, but also that she's come along this afternoon and shared. So take what you can from what we're saying. And always, if it works, it can't be wrong. If it doesn't work, it can't be right. But at the end of the day, if you just go jumping from one pool into the next pool, looking for that easy option, that easy way out, chances are you'll never find it. I don't know how you want to sum up on that, Daxa, at all.
The one thing over my journey I've learned is that one dietary plan doesn't fit everyone. Everyone's got to make some tweaks to it, some changes to it. Monitor, if you're diabetic, monitor your blood glucose. If you're not, monitor how food makes you feel. Are you feeling lethargic after, are you feeling energized? Don't just expect somebody to hand, the answer to you fully anyway. It's a framework. Of Absolutely. Course, what you've done is a framework for other people to tweak so that and that's what I have learned as well over the years, that, the instructions or the things that I read, initially served me well, but over the years I have tweaked things. I have been able to maybe bring some things back, take some things out, so it's a personal, you've got to sort of aim for a personal approach, definitely.
You were talking about measuring, and I think measurements is the most important thing. Some people want to measure once a month. I always encourage people to measure every day and look at the food that you've eaten, and keep a journal. Write down, if you want to look at weight, weigh yourself every day. Look at the food you've eaten. If you find that your weight loss is stalled, and think, whoa, hang on a second, what's happening? If you find that you're having headaches, if you find that you've got joint pains, if you find that something bad has happened, you might find something good has happened. Hey, since I've cut out the nuts, I'm not getting any more arthritic pains, or I'm sleeping better. My sinuses were constantly blocked for years and years and years. And when I went onto a low carbohydrate lifestyle, my sinuses unblocked. I can't tell you when that was, but I've never had blocked sinuses since. But my doctor never told me what to do. But I can share that information now and say, you know, I know that carbohydrate is the source of all discomfort. It really, really is. It's a poison. It was meant to be taken in moderation. But the one thing is that, and Daxa will support this, I know, is that your body can live forever and ever without carbohydrates because it can make its own through a process called gluconeogenesis. Because of a hormone that the pancreas produces called glucagon. You don't need to remember that, but I just love it knowing how these things work. That's the way my mind works. And so therefore, you're not going to run out of glucose when your blood sugar levels go down. And I'm not saying that everybody's body operates perfectly, but as we both say, tweak it, find out what works, find out what doesn't work. If it works, it can be wrong. If it doesn't work, it can be right.
Exactly. Yeah. But going back to the body being able to make the glucose, there are no such things as essential carbohydrates. There's only essential fatty acids, so essential fats that our bodies cannot produce, and essential amino acids, which you get from proteins. Now, so that kind of sums it up, doesn't it, really? You need to eat proteins, good quality proteins, to make sure you've got your range of amino acids that the body can't make, the essential ones, and that you've got, the essential fatty acids, which from foods like fish, etc. But that's a different topic anyway.
It is, yeah. Talking about cooking oils, we could go off on one right now and talk about, the pros and cons of cooking oil and how you should blah, 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 but there's plenty of information on the Keep Fat Club about that. Loads and loads of information on YouTube. You don't have to ask me, what do I think about this? Do your own research, go on YouTube, go and find out, listen to what it says. And if you want to try it, then give it a go. If it doesn't work for you, it can't be right. But at the end of the day, it's proven, and it's evidence-based that cutting the carbohydrates will make a tremendous difference to your lives. Tremendous difference in so many ways. I mean, it's helped Daxa with her condition, and it helped me with my weight loss, and it's helping somebody else with a type 2 diabetes, somebody else with their inflammation and their arthritis. So that's the big problem we've got today, is that everybody wants to eat a chocolate biscuit, me included, and a cake and a bar of Toblerone. And so, we don't eat because we're hungry. We see it, we want it, we eat it.
Can I just add to that in the environment we live in, the powers that be, the advertising companies, the food companies make it very, very difficult for us to avoid all the snacky kind of foods. You do need a certain amount of willpower. But once, I have to add this, once you kind of get to a certain point, the cravings decrease and you don't rely on that willpower anymore. You just naturally, I don't know, it's an incredible feeling. You feel so empowered, and you don't feel like a slave to the food industry anymore.
Yeah. If it says it's a health food, avoid it. Run like hell.
Yeah, absolutely. If it says
don't buy health foods, don't buy protein shakes, don't buy any of that stuff. You don't need to, you don't need to.
Yeah.
Daxa, it's been a real pleasure spending time with you this afternoon. Virtual hug from me.
Yeah, virtual hug.
Lots of love.
You take care.
You know, and
yourself.
thanks to everybody who's watched this video that we've made, and you know, give us your feedback, give us your comments. And I know that Daxa's there if you want to ask her a question. She pops into the Keep Fat Club from time to time.
Yeah.
And take a look at the Magic Pill Forum and see what's going on over there.
Yeah.
Thank you once again, Daxa. Thank you very, very much indeed for joining us this afternoon. Take care.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.